Guided reading in the remote world. Fontes and Pinnell have identified 3 models for remote learning. Synchronous is when you are doing the lesson in real time, but students are at home connected by Zoom. Asynchronous is when students are accessing the lesson at home on their own whenever it's most convenient to them, but there are no time constraints or Zoom appointments. Synchronous and asynchronous require some kind of device to be used by the kiddo. No access to technology is self-explanatory, and most of these students pick up paper pencil packets prepared by the teacher. You will certainly be able to deliver the 5 steps to a guided reading lesson synchronously. By the way, refer back to the guided reading and 5 steps video for more information about each step. The nuances will be that you will deliver the lesson while you Zoom, and it should still be 15 to 20 minutes. Before the lesson, make the electronic copy of the book selection available to students and plan the lesson according to the lesson plan card, which come in print with your guided reading prints, or they are available at the Fontes and Pinnell online resources site. If you're going to listen in on individual student reading, ask that student or students to unmute and read. Discussion can and should still happen, but you'll need to set up systems for students to respond in breakout rooms or call on students or have them respond in the chat box, whatever works for the grade level you're working with. Last, word work can be delivered using a whiteboard or electronic whiteboard feature. If the lesson calls for it, there are electronic resources available too. Asynchronously, remote learning will require a pre-recorded lesson and students will need the electronic copy of the book. And you'll want to be super intentional about telling the kids to pause and restart the video as you move through the guided reading steps. Students will need to pause the video if you select an introduction bullet requiring them to turn to a specific page. They will need to pause the video so they can read the text on their own. Discuss comprehension questions with a family member, and work through word work. As always, be sure to mention the message of the book and be transparent about the teaching point. Last but not least, as part of the recording, demonstrate the word work principle using a whiteboard or electronic whiteboard. Create a slide with directions for students to practice on their own. If students do not have access to technology, they'll need the old paper hard copy along with a packet of things they'll need to move through the 5 steps of the lesson. I keep referring to the Fontes and Pinnell online resources, and that's where you'll find the PDF copy of the book so that it can be printed out for kids. You can always send home your copy of the book if you feel comfortable as well. What you see on the screen is directions for guided reading. It's basically a form that allows you to write out the directions for the guided reading lesson. This form can be found in the Remote Learning No Access resources, and it's called GR Lesson Directions No Access. Remember that guided reading books are provided to students at their instructional level. Independent reading levels typically fall 1 level below the instructional level. For example, if you're providing guided reading at an H level, independent reading should be at G. Independent reading is a necessary component of any balanced literacy program.